Good afternoon. Maybe somebody can get the door, please. Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. I'm here to speak about the Transportation Ministry's new regulation under the Traffic Safety Act for transportation network companies. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge Deputy Superintendent of Insurance David Sorensen, who's right there, who will be available following this event for technical questions related to the new insurance product, or any questions I can't answer. Then he gets them. So you're very likely familiar with our government's position on transportation network companies, or TNCs. This spring, our government introduced Bill 16 in the legislature. The bill was passed and it amended the Traffic Safety Act in a number of ways, notably to establish regulations for TNCs. New regulations today address our three primary public safety concerns about TNCs. First of all, they must have appropriate insurance company. They must, their drivers must have appropriate driver's licenses, and we will perform or will have performed police information checks, which are conducted by law enforcement agencies. In the first part, the Superintendent of Insurance has confirmed that appropriate insurance is ready for July 1st, 2016, as promised. TNC drivers have always had the option of purchasing an endorsement to attach to their personal policy, which would permit them to carry passengers for hire. However, the product is considered expensive, and as a result, there was very little interest from the TNCs. The new approved policy for TNCs differs from the commercial insurance for taxis in a number of ways. For example, commercial insurance used by taxis is in place 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The new insurance policy is purchased by the TNC and held by the TNC and provides for adequate insurance coverage for drivers from the moment they access the TNC network via the app to secure a fare to the moment they log off of the app. Rides must also be booked through the app to be covered by this insurance policy, and hence it does not cover street hails. When driving for a TNC, there are 3 periods which are covered by the new insurance product. Period 1, when the driver has the app turned on and is waiting to secure a fare. Period 2, when the driver is on the way to pick up a passenger and has accepted the fare through the app. And period 3, when there is actually a passenger in the vehicle. This new product to be purchased by the TNC will cover all 3 periods. The policy will provide at least $1 million of coverage during period 1 and at least $2 million in coverage for periods 2 and 3. This policy satisfies our government's concerns around insurance coverage for TNCs. With proper insurance in place, there are 2 other requirements that TNC drivers must abide by. Those who want to drive for TNCs can upgrade their Class 5 licenses to a Class 1, 2, or 4 by taking a road test at any registry in the province. These tests are more comprehensive than a Class 5 road test and include a medical as part of the process to ensure that the driver is medically fit. Finally, to ensure passenger safety, we require TNC drivers to obtain a police information check by their local law enforcement agency. These checks go farther than the standard third-party screenings and can detect not only convictions, but charges, outstanding warrants, and other potential issues. In addition, we require all drivers to obtain an initial vulnerable sector screen to protect the most vulnerable sectors of society, including children, seniors, and people with disabilities. This is required currently for school bus drivers. There is no additional cost for the vulnerable sector check in conjunction with a police information check. This regulation will allow the government to address all of these safety issues. The focus of the bill and the regulations is to hold the TNC rather than driver accountable for all of these requirements. There are penalties if TNCs do not comply. Bill 16 provides for up to $50,000 per offense per day. While developing the framework, the working group held informal conversations with Uber and other TNCs, taxi companies, and municipalities and municipal organizations. Ensuring TNCs are regulated under a reasonable framework makes our roads safe for all road users, be they drivers, passengers, cyclists, or pedestrians. I think that this is providing a very good approach to ensure the safety of the public, and to ensure a level playing field with other car for hire, vehicle for hire types of businesses. So I'm very pleased with how this has gone, and I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
When you say when the driver activates the app, does that just mean that they're sort of logged on to it?
Yes, I think basically, yep.
So they just
Yep.
have to have it open kind of thing, and
Yep.
then they're covered?
And then they're covered, yeah.
Gotcha. Who's going to be enforcing this? Are you doing provincial enforcement, or are you going to rely on municipalities to enforce their own bylaws?
No, I think we're going to hold the TNCs accountable. So in other words, they need to make sure that the drivers have the insurance. They need to make sure that they have the appropriate driver's license and that they have the police information check. And then we will audit them to make sure that they are complying. So it will be a regular process of audits. Since we have essentially, we don't have a whole fleet of enforcement people out there, so the approach is very much to focus on the TNCs and make them accountable.
Will it be the Transportation Department who does these audits, or the sheriffs? Or?
It'll be the Transportation Department.
Does the Transportation Department need to bring any new resources on board? I mean, this is obviously a new process of auditing this company.
I don't think there's going to be a requirement. I think we can accomplish this very much within our existing resources, yeah.
Do you know how often these audits are going to happen, and whether they're going to be random or scheduled?
I don't know. Shane, do you know the answer to that question? Or somebody out there? How often are we going to do the audits?
Right now, the audits, we're planning on monthly.
Monthly?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
TNC, so we can probably.
Yeah,
You approve that?
that rocks. Good. Good.
So was Uber a part of the, were they a stakeholder in the conversations that you've had over the last number of months?
I would, a stakeholder. I don't know how to define that exactly. Certainly, I met with them. They were consulted.
Were they briefed on today's announcement before?
No.
Were other TNCs briefed?
Oh, no. No, we briefed the opposition, and that's our obligation, really. Yeah.
This is something that no other province is doing. Edmonton is noticing with their bylaw right now that they're already having to make some changes 4 months in because they're seeing some holes. Are you expecting that you're going to have to revisit this in a few months even and rejig it a bit?
Well, we'll see. I mean, we designed the legislation specifically so that most of these things would be handled by regulation, so we don't have to go back to the Assembly and pass an amending bill. So it can be dealt with through Cabinet, so that gives us the ability to make these changes. I can't say for sure how it's going to work, but I can say for sure that the technology is rapidly evolving. And we've given up trying to figure out what it's going to look like in a couple of years or 5 years. We just don't know. So we need to retain the flexibility to respond. And what we see today may not be what we see in a few years.
We're going to go to the phone line and then we'll come back to the floor. Operator, can you take the next question?
Your next question comes from the line of John Cotter with the Canadian Press. Your line is open.
Minister Mason, have any of the transportation network companies committed to being part of this new system and the insurance product?
Well, we understand that Uber has been involved in discussions with an insurance company, and we've approved the basic framework. I understand there are several other insurance companies that are now wishing to offer a very similar product. So that's between the transportation network company and its insurer.
And just one follow-up question. What has been the response of the police forces in Alberta to this plan?
I don't know if there's been a response to the police forces. I don't... I mean, this is a regular...
Were they consulted, and are they supportive of this approach?
Yes, they were consulted, yes. I don't think they have any problem with this approach. I don't think this provides any additional burden for them. In fact, by making the road safer, I would assume that they would be very, very supportive of it.
Thank you.
Operator, can you take the next question?
Your next question comes from the line of Michelle Bellafontaine with CBC. Your line is open.
Hi there, Minister Mason. Just a quick question. Is the insurance product that will be available July 1st, is that the policy that was being offered or being developed by Intact Insurance?
I believe that Intact is one of several insurers that have developed a product that complies with our new policy.
So it's not the only one then?
No, I understand there's several others as well.
And they'll be available on July 1st as well?
I'm not sure of the answer to that. Do you know that? No, you can just stay there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm not giving up the mic for anything.
the main insurance product that we've been working on is, we received help from Intact, but it will be available for use by any insurance company who chooses to use it. Other insurance companies have also come to us with various products that would kind of help in the insurance for TNC drivers. But the main policy was developed by the superintendent's office with the help of Intact.
Did you get that, Michelle?
I did. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you.
We'll go back to the floor.
Do you have a breakdown on what the cost of this will be?
Cost? I don't think there's going to be much of a cost. Do you mean to the government?
No, to the individual drivers. So do you have a sense of what the insurance cost will be, what the Class 4 cost or upgrade cost is? And
Well,
how
the
much
Class
back-
4 isn't much. What's the fee for taking the test? Sean, do you know?
Yeah, between $150 and $200.
$150 to $200 to take the Class 4 test. In terms of the costs of the insurance, I don't know. That's a commercial, that's offered on a commercial basis between the company and the insurer and the TNC company. And of course, all of those costs will be covered by the fees that they charge their drivers.
And is the background check free?
Yes, I think so.
Do you expect this to expand the number of companies that want to get into ride sharing in Alberta?
I don't know the answer to that question. I think this is, I think this is something that sets a clear floor for what we expect in terms of protecting the public, and I will see what happens in the marketplace. And I would expect that if this is satisfactory to Uber, they will re-enter the market, and if it is successful for them, you may expect that they have competitors as well. That's just the way it all works.
When did you last take a ride share?
I never have.
Never have?
No.
Minister, the one...
My son has, though. Yeah, he's a strong advocate. Yeah.
Minister, the one change that Uber really lobbied for, aggressively really wanted to see compared to your previous stance, is a change on this issue of the Class 4.
Yes.
Is this your way of letting them know that that's not changing? You're absolutely
Yeah,
committed?
that's not changing. What they wanted originally was, I think they said 3 hours a day. Was that correct? Is the correct amount? But it actually turns out that they were accumulating it. They wanted to accumulate it in a 3-month period. So it was more like 120 hours in a 3-month period. And that could have all been done in over a short time frame. That wasn't how we wanted to do this. We want to make sure that whenever you take a driver, whenever a driver takes a passenger for hire, that they have met the requirements of doing so. And so we didn't accept their suggestion.
So they were pitching you a suggestion where you wouldn't need a Class 4 if you only drive so many hours a week kind of thing? Is that...
Actually, they were going to use a 3-month period, and it turned out to be quite a few hours, actually, when you added it up over 3 months. So, yeah, no, we declined to make that change.
Minister, the city is really struggling right now with, Edmonton that is, with the definition of hailing a ride.
Yeah.
Because what TapCar's been doing is creating cab stands and essentially pre-booking the trip moments before the person gets in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if this is something that the province has thought about, given that the insurance doesn't allow for ride hailing.
Well, we're focusing on the use of the app. So the insurance product that we've approved is only in force when the app is utilized in terms of stands and so on. That's a regulatory matter for the city to consider, and we're not getting into it. There's lots of areas of regulation of vehicle for hire that municipalities may get into. We want to keep our involvement at a very high level and just focused on the safety aspect.
And why is it then that not allowing ride hailing is important from the provincial stance? In terms
Well,
of safety?
no, I wouldn't say that that's the case. What I would say is that that is the basis of the insurance product that has been developed and has been approved by the superintendent of insurance. And that's the model that has been proposed to us by the insurance company and Uber, and we've worked with them to approve something that we think provides sufficient coverage. And that's the model that's been adopted. Any other questions?
Are you going to take a ride share?
Well, now that it's legal, I might. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks.